Hey y'all, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, welcome. My name is Erica and I'm so glad that you were here for today's video because today we are talking about how to become a vendor in a storefront, whether that be a boutique or some other type of brick and mortar small business or consignment shop or antique mall or emporium, whatever you're trying to get into to sell your products at, we're going to be talking about how you can get into one of those stores. So I've done a couple of craft fair videos before, and I also did a video on how I got into a store, and I kind of showed you my booth and walked around the store, and we talked a little bit about displays. Well, there were some of you in the comments and a lot more that actually DM'd me privately on my Instagram and TikTok asking me, how do you find these stores? How do you get in? They just don't understand how the process works. So because of so many of you guys DMing me, I thought, why not go ahead and make a video about it, and then I can refer you guys here to get all of your questions answered. Now, with that being said, I do plan on doing a video on how to have a successful booth, and we'll talk about displays. I also plan on doing a video on showing you guys how to DIY your own displays, like tutorial style, so you guys can follow along and build these displays with me. Now, after this video, if I didn't clarify anything, just drop your question down below in the comments, or if there's something specifically that you guys want to see that I haven't mentioned, then go ahead and tell me that as well. So with that being said, let's go ahead and jump into this video. Now, first things first, in order to narrow down your store search, because you don't want to just be sending in applications everywhere willy-nilly, you kind of want to narrow down the stores that you are wanting to put your products in. So I highly recommend that you decide on exactly what you're wanting to do. Are you wanting to sell your products to a store and let them completely take care of it? Maybe you don't want to worry about a booth, in which case I might recommend that you go talk to some boutique owners, because I used to sell a lot of my freshies wholesale to local boutiques where I would give them a small discount per freshie so that they would have room to sell them and make profit in their store. But I would basically sell them in one giant bundle, take the whole box to the store and drop it off. They would pay me for that, and I would be all done with that. Once I handed it over to them, I didn't have to worry about setting up anything. I didn't have my own space or anything like that. I just sold my products wholesale to them so that they could resell them. There's also different types of consignment shops. Some of them are kind of like pawn shop style, I would say, where you go in, you give them your stuff, and they'll offer you a price, and you can take it or leave it or negotiate if they're open to that, and they'll sell them their way just like a boutique owner would. Or the more popular one I see is where you go in and it's more of a commission type consignment where you go in, put your items, they sell it, and you'll collect a check at the end of the month, but you have a space to put all of your stuff in, and you are in charge of keeping your booth clean and tidy and restocked and all of that. Now, with those types of shops and antique malls and emporiums, usually 9 times out of 10 you are going to be charged like a small sale fee, commission fee by the store that they get on each transaction. Now, the store that I have my products at, they take 13%, but I also am charged a booth fee every month for the space that I have. And typically that's how most of them work. So once you kind of figure out what you're wanting to do, how much responsibility you're wanting on your shoulders, then you can kind of determine what stores you're going to apply to. Now, a lot of them do things differently because they are small businesses and locally owned, family owned, so they can kind of determine how they want to run their stores. So a lot of them are different. So you're gonna have to call around, email, and go into these stores and talk to these owners to see exactly how it works per that store. So again, because I know someone's gonna ask in the comments, but they are different at every store. My store charges 13%, and then I also pay booth rent. Now, I actually have 2 booths in the store. Because I'm doing so well, I went ahead and opened up a second booth. So now my booth rent is $270 a month, but that is for 2 decent sized booths. So it's really important that you find out those details ahead of time, because you have to account for your overhead costs when you're deciding on what prices to put on your products in order to make a profit. You obviously don't want to barely make any profit or just break even after you've paid your booth rent for the month. So So once you figure all that out, you can kind of narrow down where you're going to actually apply to be a vendor at. Unless you're just wanting to go the boutique route, in which case you can just email them, message them, call them. I always highly recommend that you go talk to them in person so that they can kind of feel you out, you can feel them out and see their store and engage with them that way and get your foot in the door. I also recommend that you do your research ahead of time for whatever stores you're going to be applying to. And what I mean by that is go check their Google reviews, go check their Facebook reviews if they have a Facebook business page. The store that I sell my stuff at, they have a 4.4 star review out of 5 stars on their Facebook page and a 4.5 star on Google reviews. So they have pretty good customer reviews, which was one of the main reasons I checked them out in the first place. You should also check out, you know, do they have their own website? Do they market themselves on social media? They might not have, you know, every single type of social media, but do they have a social media page that they are frequently posting and engaging with their followers, aka potential future customers? My store has a Facebook page and they post every single day featuring a different vendor every day, where they go around and take pictures of the booth and some of the cool items that are in that booth. So I think that's really cool. I'm constantly seeing them replying to people's questions and comments on their Facebook post and page. So I think that's a really good sign to look for also. Once you've done that, you can kind of sift through some of the stores that you want to take more seriously. And then I would say your next step is you need to go to the store and shop around like you're a customer. Basically, you want to go there and try to figure out, are you a good fit for that store and are your products going to sell there? For example, like I said, I sell my stuff at a local antique mall, so I was kind of worried about putting my handmade products in there because they're not antiques or vintage items or even retro themed items. So I was like, how am I going to sell these products in here? Well, now I kind of sell some of my handmade products, but I also sell a lot of antique, vintage, and retro home decor. But with that being said, I have seen several booths in the store that I sell at that have solely handmade products that they craft. Obviously, the antique mall doesn't want to have a ton of those booths. They want to have a lot of antiques and vintage stuff because that's mainly what they sell and what they get customers there for. Whereas depending on what you make, if you sell, you know, t-shirts or handmade jewelry or whatever, that might fit a little bit better in a boutique or some type of other local small business. One of the first things that you should ask yourself when you walk in that store is, would this be a store that I shop at? Now, when I first went to the antique mall that I now sell my stuff at, I was actually just visiting the state. This was before I even lived here. We lived in Florida. This is now in Tennessee, and we were just visiting. We fell in love with the area and we ended up moving up here a year later. So anyway, I just go to say that because I walked in the store. It was a huge antique mall. I think that they advertise that they're like the biggest antique mall in East Tennessee. So I thought that was super cool. And that's what actually made me want to go there and check out the store in the first place, because I love going thrift shopping. I love antique stores, anything vintage and rusty and old. I just love that stuff. So I wanted to go there anyways. But when I saw how many people had booths there that sold their handmade crafts, I was like, this might be a place that I want to check out in the future for my own small business. More than likely, if it's a place that you would enjoy shopping at, there's obviously going to be other customers that would agree with you and want to shop there. If you walk in and the place just gives you bad vibes, or the store is super messy and unkept or not clean, or maybe the staff isn't that friendly, or the store is just like run down, you're obviously not going to want to put your stuff in there, because that store is kind of representing your products. So just keep that in the back of your mind while you're looking around. I also highly recommend that you go check out the store between Friday and Sunday, because those are the busiest days of any retail store. So that is a good indicator when you go on those days. If it's busy, it's probably a decent store. Whereas if you go on a Saturday and there's like hardly any customers there and it's super slow, that's probably going to tell you that they don't get much traffic on these slower days like Monday through Thursday. Personally, I went and bought some items, so I kind of got a feel for the staff when I was checking out before I even asked to become a vendor. So I was obviously super pleased with the customer service that I received, so that made me want to apply to be a vendor there. Another thing that you can look for while you're actually looking around the store is, are there a lot of empty booths or empty spaces? Because because that can also be an indicator if there are a ton of empty spaces that a lot of people are leaving. It's a revolving door of vendors because they're not happy with the management or how they're running the store or a number of other reasons. But I feel like if you are going there frequently and you see a lot of empty space and empty holes, that might be a red flag. You obviously also want to keep an eye out for, are there other vendors or booths that sell the same products as you? Because just keep in mind, that's going to be your competition later. I'm not saying there's not room for competition. I think as long as the competition is friendly, then you're okay. But if you are applying to be a vendor at a booth and all you sell is t-shirts, and you walk in and there's like 10 or 15 other booths that also only sell t-shirts, you're going to be competing with all of those other vendors, and there might be a lot of undercutting of each other's prices, and that might really affect your sales. So you might want to look out for that as well. And then obviously you want to make sure that the store is clean and well kept. Is the parking lot a hot mess and there's like trash floating around everywhere? When you walk in, is there stuff all over the floors? Have they like vacuumed their carpets? Are the bathrooms super disgusting? Is the whole store like super dusty and dirty and obviously not well kept? That might be a sign that you don't want to be a vendor there as well. So once you've looked around the store and you've decided, okay, I want to apply at this store, or maybe you find a couple of stores that you want to look into, then I would ask to talk to a vendor manager, or owner. They differ from store to store. The store that I'm at, they have a vendor manager, a regular general manager, and obviously the store owner, but the store owner is typically never there. But unless I had a really big problem, I wouldn't go and talk to the general manager. I only go and talk to the vendor manager because she's in charge of overseeing all of the vendors and anything booth related. But a lot of smaller stores, the general manager might be the one overseeing all of the vendors and booth spaces. So ask to speak to one of them, whatever that store has. But obviously if you're going on the weekend, especially because it's super busy, I know anytime I walk in that store on the weekend, I see all of the employees running around busy, helping customers, doing stuff. I wouldn't want to pull them away from current customers, or also, you know, leave making a bad impression because I was impatient and waiting and was talking their ear off, asking them a million questions. So I would ask to talk to them, and then when you actually get a second to talk to them, ask, do you have a minute to talk about available booth spaces and becoming a vendor here? Or schedule a time ahead of time that you can come in and talk to them one-on-one, asking all of your questions about becoming a vendor and available booth spaces. And obviously it goes without saying, if you're talking to any of the store staff, you should be super polite and friendly. I mean, you should be polite and friendly in any case, but obviously you want to make a good first impression. If you are rude or condescending or impatient in any way, you're probably not going to get a call back. You know what I mean? So I just highly recommend that you be polite and friendly and professional. Now, they might tell you that they currently don't have any space available, or they're not currently accepting any new vendors at that time. Then I would ask if they have a wait list or anything like that. Sometimes they could be telling you that depending on what you're selling, because they don't want that in their store. They might have enough vendors that sell those particular items, or maybe they truly don't have any space because they are completely booked up. I know the store that I'm at, they have a wait list, and I had to wait to get a booth in this store. My store has you fill out a form that is basically a booth request form that you fill out. You put like your name, your phone number, your email, like all of your contact information, but you also put what you're wanting to sell in your booth, so that they kind of go by the order of which they received those booth applications. But that will also help them sift through vendors that they don't want in their store because they already have an abundance of those types of items. So just ask if they have a waiting list or anything like that, or if you can leave your contact information for them to get a hold of you when they have something available. Obviously, they might have questions on what type of products you're selling, in which case I would highly recommend, you know, if you have business cards, bring one to give to them. If you have pictures on your phone of like craft fairs you've done, or a bunch of product photos of stuff that you make or anything like that, I would have that readily available to show them. Or at the bare minimum, you could even show them like your social media pages so that they can kind of get a feel for you as a person and what you sell and get a better look at your products. Now, while you're talking to the manager, vendor manager, or owner, whatever their title may be, you obviously want to take that opportunity to ask them questions to make sure that you're a good fit for their store and they're a good fit for your products. I would personally ask, do you have a inventory system that tracks the daily sales? And I say that because the store that I'm at, I get an email every single day listing exactly what I sold that day. They list like the item number, the description, the price that the customer paid, and it also shows how much you made after they take out their 13%. And if I click on the link, it takes me to this like little portal type of website where I can see all of my monthly sales and I can see how much I've made that month. But there are a ton of stores out there that don't have any of these systems in place, and they just give you like a printout at the end of the month with your booth check. So if that's something that you care about, I highly recommend that you ask, because like with me personally, you know, I make a lot of t-shirts and freshies and stuff like that. So I like to see exactly what I'm selling so that I can make more and restock my booth as necessary, not just once a month. You know what I mean? I also highly recommend that you ask them how their payment process works. For example, I know there are stores out there that might pay out every 2 weeks versus once a month like my store does. You might also want to ask if they offer direct deposit, because some stores only offer printed out checks that you have to go and pick up and obviously deposit yourself. And while you're talking about money, I would go ahead and ask them probably the most important question of all, which is, how much do they charge for their commission percentage and how much is their booth rent? Because it will obviously depend on the square footage of the booth space that you need. So once you know how much your overhead cost is going to be, that's obviously going to help you determine your pricing later in order to make a profit. Obviously, I would recommend that you make at least 3 times as much as your booth rent because you want to come out ahead. Then I would go ahead and ask what their vendor requirements are. What do they look for in a vendor, or what products are they looking for? A lot of the stores have different requirements. For example, my store requires you to have a reseller's license, but they kind of help you with that, and I'll explain that shortly. But I also know of some where you have to have like a tax ID, or you might have to have an LLC, or you might have to have a business license like with the county or the city, while there are some that don't require anything but your social security number on file. So as I said before, my store specifically requires that you have a resales license, but that was in my vendor booth application form. So they provided that for me. I filled it out with my application and then submitted it. They turned around and sent that to Tennessee's Department of Revenue, where then I got an email to set up the account on there, and then I could print out my resale license and start using it. For those of you that don't know, that allows me to buy things like tax exempt, because the store collects a sales tax because we're not there selling our products. It's underneath, you know, their little corporation or LLC. I'm not really sure what the store has, but they collect the sales tax. So we have to have that resale license, but that means that I can take that shopping with me, and anytime I'm buying like supplies for the stuff that I make for the store, or I'm buying anything to resell in the booth, I can show my resale license, which works just like a tax exempt form, which means I don't have to pay for tax on my supplies because the store collects that. Now, for those of you that are curious, the last time that I was up there, I asked them to print out a blank dealer application so that I could show you guys and kind of just give you guys kind of a glimpse of what these people are asking for. Again, all stores are going to be different, but in general, this is what most of the applications that I have seen look like. Now, that original first form that I was talking about that I had to fill out in order to get on the wait list, they specifically asked what I was going to be selling, and I had to list all of the products that I planned on selling in the booth. So that question isn't on the application because they already have that in paperwork that everyone has to fill out ahead of time. So once I filled that out and I waited a little bit of time and a booth became available and they wanted the products that I listed on that form in their store, they gave me a call, asked me to come in and pick up a dealer application form. So All of the places are going to look different, but this is what my stores looks like. So they ask what your business name is. DBA, that just means like if you have another name, like for example, I sell a lot of my stuff with my Creatively Erica tag. So that's what I put on mine. But if you have an LLC or a corporation, you know, you can put that as well. Your name, address, phone, email, any alternate information. They filled out this little part for me because some people only want to get like a small wall space or a display case instead of a booth. And then they wrote down how much my monthly rent was going to be for that. And then you sign that down below. Now, the next 2 pages of the application is actually just some detailed instructions on how to fill out the Tennessee Department of Revenue's registration form, where I'll show you guys what that looks like, because this is probably going to look really similar no matter what state you're living in. And this one's just a little bit more detailed, but like I said, they were nice enough to print out some like detailed instructions to kind of help with that. And here is the next page of that form. So that is the whole application. So once I turned that in, then on the first of the month, I was able to come in and set up my booth and I was good to go. So hopefully I answered your questions on how to find some of these stores, decide what store you want to get into, and how to actually apply and get into the store. As I said before, if there's something else that you guys are wanting to know, just drop that in the comments and I will do my best to make a video on that for you. But that is where I'm going to leave you guys today. As always, I hope you enjoyed today's video as much as I did. If you did like it, please let me know by giving me a big thumbs up. If you have any other questions or comments, feel free to drop a comment down below. I would love to hear what you guys think. And if you're watching this video but you're not already subscribed to my channel, then make sure you click that subscribe button so that you don't miss out any of my future videos. I would greatly appreciate the follow. Thanks for watching. I'll catch you guys next time.